would like to just introduce myself as Tla-o-qui-aht, and my English name is Gordon Dick, and I'm in traditional territory of Tla-o-qui-aht Nation here with one of the descendants here of Marika Swan, and I will let her introduce herself with her traditional name. And I want to thank you for today.
Yeah, great. Thanks for inviting me. We are here in Tla-o-qui-aht. My name is Marika Swan. I also have a given name, Amanus Aksup.
You want to share the meaning of that?
Sure. I've heard a few different interpretations, but Ama's loon, and it means loon's call, or like loon's message, woman of the loon's message. Yeah, and it speaks to a place where I was born.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I contact you, because I'm a fan of what you're doing in your art form of neutronic art. It's just my thoughts of how you're using, still printing, but you're using block printing as one of your methods. I know you just recently purchased a carving bench, so you're making more wood chips now too. And I just want you to kind of share some of your thoughts and feelings on some of the directions that you're going with your art. You know, when I look at some of your artwork, it's still, to me, it seems like it's still very rooted from your family roots, but it's still a new look, a new, even somewhat of a new direction, because we're all individuals. It's your hand really developing that visual signature that, from 20 or 30 feet across the room, you see a piece and it's like, that's Marika's.
I realize sometimes that I don't actually talk about neutronic art very much, like in that specific way.
Mm-hmm.
And my father, Joe David, he's one of the people who really went to research and search out our neutronic style, and him and his contemporaries at the time, Ron Hamilton and Tim Paul, like they all really went to research and find our ancestral pieces, and spent a huge body of their life dedicated to searching out and researching the styles. And I think for me, and this is a more recent thing, when I was younger, I haven't really wanted to be an artist in my life. I didn't search that out, and I think actually and naturally young people, when their parents are artists, they want to be something else, or and I wanted to be an activist, I wanted to be a social worker, and I did a lot of arts organizing. And my family, often when I would come to Crossroads, I'd be like, well, what about your artwork? And do you want to pursue that? And I don't know, I wasn't always drawn to it, but I have found that in my life, when I hit really difficult times, when I was really struggling, that art was the thing that I could come back to that helped me heal.
Right.
So I've kind of come into it later in life as a way of
your medicine.
Yeah, taking care of myself, grounding myself. I'm a really restless person. It can be kind of meditative for me, to focus and be timeless. And when you're hooked in a piece and, you just want it to be right. Yeah. And so it keeps pulling you back in until you make it right. Yeah. When I started to kind of explore bringing cultural elements into my artwork, I realized that I didn't know really what neutrino stuff was, and I felt a little bit I can't really tell the difference. I hear him and I can ask him, but when I look at different pieces, I don't always see what he sees or have the confidence that he has in being able to differentiate.
Right.
And I found it actually tricky to figure out, how do you learn that? There isn't
there's no
clear path.
Yeah, there's no clear path, there's no book, There's
No.
You know, because, you know, just as you know, we don't have a new Chonalth book of form line. Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Because we don't have form line. The closest thing that you know, over the years, and then talking with Tim and talking with your dad, you know, and even just recently talking with Ron, I'm like, you know, it's nature. It's free. It's nature. It's open. It's soft and flowing. And then I'm really a fan of the hard geometrics, which just my thought sometimes is like pulled from nature, but it's also pulled from the pattern bottles, the baskets, you know, that talent and art of weaving. But you're doing a canoe and a whale, and it's, you know, very hard geometric lines. And I love that when it's, you know, you look at an old screen, there's soft flowing feathers, and then a hard lightning, you know, Tla-o-qui-aht, the lightning serpent, and it's just like, it just seems more free or open, or I guess is kind of the reference I seem to use more often over the years.
Yeah, and I think in reality, I mean, both of us have studied a little bit, you know, gone to different museums to kind of look at ancestral works, and you know, some pieces are much more well known, but there's actually like a lot of diversity too, right?
Very
you know,
much.
so when we look at a lot of the old pieces, like there's a range there of styles, and you know, as we know, there was a lot of interrelationship up and down the coast, you know, and that was acknowledged and woven into the culture. You know, people would bring masks with them through marriage or rights to things, and
Songs.
yeah. And that was forever altering the fabric of each area. These days, I feel like, I don't know, it's interesting, like when we talk about what's typically New Chonalth, and there isn't always that acknowledgement of our different family ancestries and people that come from blended backgrounds or different areas, and I wonder if that has to do with, you know, what's happened with us with like the band council system and being registered into bands and needing to pick like one area that you're from, this is your community. And I don't know, it's interesting to me to kind of watch, even in, you know, my short lifetime in participating with the community of artists, like how people identify themselves and how they talk about this stylistically, what they're doing is interesting to me.
Yeah.
Well, people too, like, can be easy to get lumped together, but I think like different artists can have really different motivations for why they create, like where they want to take that skill. You know, if you're a commercial artist and you're providing for your family, or if you're creating things for cultural use, or you have certain political goals, or, you know, like there's a lot of different reasons why you might pursue the art form. And it's a complicated discussion, and there's like lots of opinions about it.
A lot of opinions, a lot of directions.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, it's you know, when you say political and, you know, politics of artwork, you know, when I was young, I was like, you know, there's not really any politics in artwork, but there's total politics in artwork. So yeah, and it's, you know, as I was talking with my friend, I said, you know, I should, because I'm talking with my community, I'm like, well, we need to, you know, there's historical evidence of where we are as Tla-o-qui-aht for my roots. And I said, you know, I said to our lead counselor there, I said, you know, I just want to create something and we go and put it in place. But we don't need the city or the regional district or the government or anyone to say, okay, yeah, you could put it there. And her response is, well, you know, what about that relationship you have with him? And I just looked at her, I said, What relationship? Like, there isn't a relationship. And I just believe that West Coast art as a whole is at the beginning stage for the world stage. It's the introductory on the world stage. If you know, and I've had talks with people on that, and they'll be like, well, no, why do you say that? Like, you know, there's a lot of very well-known, famous artists.
What do you mean by that? Like, what do you mean by introductory on the world stage?
You know, your father and, you know, his friends, you know, Norman Tate, Dempsey Bob, Tim Paul, and Robert Davidson, the monumental pieces that they've made over their span of time being here. Mm-hmm. You ask someone, do you know Joe David, do you know Robert Davidson? That could be just a person walking down the street in Vancouver. Highly likely, if they've done any traveling, walk through the YVR and they be in the proximity of those pieces that those individuals created. Their roots are here, and then those folks are visiting or living here and not know them. And it's been a thing for, you know, your dad and Tim and Robert and them to even it not be labeled as a craft, right? When I talk with other artists, we're engineers, architects. Like you think about putting up a totem pole, you think about fastening wings or a dorsal fin to a totem pole. You think of transformation mask or articulating eyes, these things that are moving, and you have to engineer that, you have to figure that out. So yeah, I just, you know, I'm a fan of everything, you know, that your dad and Tim and Ron and Robert, like, you know, many other artists that I study, you know, and admire.
But you're still seeing how much farther it could go. Is that
Absolutely.
What you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that a drive, knowing that so much more is possible? Like,
it's a hope. It's a hope for someone younger, like your daughter, my son or daughter, that is going to keep the art form moving, because that's part of our culture, that's part of our identity, that's our signature of our roots, that we've always been here. Mm. So, you know, I echo it for years. Our culture is like nature. So my grandmother would say this, our culture is like nature. It's always moving and changing and evolving, because if it doesn't, it will cease to exist. So she said that when I was a little boy, and I hung on to that, and I just thought that was the best. Yeah. And it's so true. It's so true. You know, if your daughter or my daughter or my son was to, you know, what is it going to look like in 20 years? What will you know, I've talked with other artists, you know, what will the land look like in 20 years, 30 years? What mediums will they work with? Because society moves fast.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the way things are right now.
Yeah, I think, you know, I was saying there's like a lot of different motivations why someone would be driven to create or to be pursuing the art form, and it's a conflicting thing to be a Nuu-chah-nulth person and be living under capitalism, you know, part of like this resurgence and this healing from having our culture outlawed. It's a complicated place to be, and you know, in our communities there's so many opinions about what's right, and you know, whether you should be selling things or not selling things or creating things. Do you have a right to make this or that? Like, and I think it's healthy to have that conversation. I think it's good that those opinions come out and we air them out and talk about them. And having gone through this process of, you know, attempted assimilation and stuff, like different people have different families, different people have different sets of teachings that have survived with them, different things to share about what's important, and, you know, and so each of us, I think, are like navigating all of that, you know, within, has a lot to do with probably who's in our family or who our teachers are, you know, that instill in us different values.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I think when I was a bit younger, I was like a bit more opinionated and know it all about this stuff. And now I feel, you know, a bit more embracing of acknowledging that everybody's on their own journey to figure that out. You know, you can't escape capitalist society. We all have to survive somehow, and we have to make choices and compromises that sit well with us. That can be an evolving thing. That can be something feels okay right now, but doesn't feel okay this year, or, you know, I'm going to focus on this for a bit, or whatever feels of value to each individual person as we kind of navigate the stresses. I think in reality too, like with a lot of our people, there was just a fight to survive.
Absolutely.
You know, to overcome depression and addiction and all the things that come with trauma, being traumatized.
Absolutely.
So a lot of us, like, our goal might be to just be healthy, you know, for our loved ones, for our children. And I know there's a lot of carvers and artists that are healing themselves. Like, that's a main part of what's going on. They're in a process of healing, and that's important. Our community needs us to heal. We need to support each other in healing, and that can look really different for different people.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation there. It's just the reality is we're here today. We're living in this world today. Whereas, you know, some people say, well, you know, you got to make this is for a traditional ceremony.
Yeah.
And, you know, there shouldn't be any monetary value of that. But that isn't necessarily true, because if your father was, you know, 200 years ago, that was his role, he wouldn't have to go and fish and catch deer and worry about his roof or, you know, leaking or anything like that, because that was his role. We had a real structure of community and family, and, you know, that individual was a hunter. You know, this individual was an artist. This individual was a beach keeper. We don't have that now. Mm-hmm. And as you say, the medicine is healing, and you know, it's great. Just like you were sharing, you can lose track of time. It feels like 15 minutes have gone by and it's been like 7 hours. I totally relate to that.
Don't you think it's hilarious that when you're working on things, the number one question that people ask you when they come up, how long does this take?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to do this?
Yeah.
I always think that's so interesting.
Yeah, and that's, part of that is society, and part of that is, you know, they want to keep score. They want to know, this is my thought on it, they want to know if you're selling it for X amount of dollars, they want to know how much you're making per hour, maybe. Is maybe you know, I don't know. Or maybe they want to know because maybe it would take them so much longer because they can't visualize those layers of you removing when you're doing a mask or you're doing a painting even, so I don't know.
But also, like, just as we're talking, I'm thinking, like, carving takes a lot of time.
It's a commitment.
Right? Like,
it's a commitment.
And that's kind of one of the wonderful things about it, is the patience it requires, and it's like a long relationship. So if you work on a big piece,
yeah,
you spend a lot of time with that piece of wood. And that might be like a hard thing for some people that are outside the art form to like wrap their heads around.
Yeah.
Like, how long have you guys been sitting here chipping away at this log?
Yeah. And
weeks, months.
They'll say, I don't have the patience for that.
Yeah.
And that part of that's just, and that's, I think part of that is just the individual, but I think a big part of it is that instant gratification of society. Society moves fast. And if you're wanting something tomorrow, you're in the wrong place. Because it's a connection to the piece. It feels good, it sounds good, it smells good. It's good medicine. As you're an artist, you're really, it's such a personal thing to create that, and then, you know, for people to really be happy with it and even more so, you know, I kind of tend to say I want to make, you know, pieces that are inherited, you know, pieces that are still very much appreciated, give a good feeling while I'm long gone. So that's my hope, is to create something for that. But even one of my hope and goals is that someone like your daughter, like my daughter, like my son, like a niece or nephew that will look at that maybe, you know, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, or a grandchild, and they'll be like, I'm going to do something like that, but I'm going to even do it better. Like that's a goal for me, is that someone is going to go, I can make something like that, but even better. That's success. Making a piece that, you know, long after I'm gone, or long after we're gone, that maybe a grandchild will see it, will have a good feeling for it, will see that they could do that, but they could even do it better. I've said that a number of times over, you know, the past number of years now, is that it'd be great that someone else is going to pick up their carving knife or a paintbrush or a mouse, you know, as the way society moves now, and do something that they feel like it's even better than what we've created, what we've left for them. They surpass. That's my hope and my thought of real success, because the culture's still moving and alive.
Yeah, that's interesting, because what I feel like I hear you say, which I don't think about very often, is just feeling maybe like a sense of responsibility as an Nuu-chah-nulth artist to fully participate and kind of like reflect back what you have to offer, in hopes that, you know, other artists in the community will see their reflection in you and feel motivated to also like reach and achieve and work on their craft.
Yeah, because there's many, many talented individuals up and down the coast. If they're, you know, have their life obstacles, you know, like I said, you know, a lot of pieces are very personal. You have that feeling into them. Maybe they, you know, they have so much to offer, but they're not in a place to say, you know, here I am, here we are. So yeah, that's a really good point in regards to that. It's healing.